Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is our special companion video. Now, every morning on the John Campea Show and every afternoon on Open Mic, we take a bunch of live questions from you guys, but we often don't have time to get through all of the live questions that come in, so we do these special companion videos to get to all of those questions so that you know if you guys use Super Chat and send in a live question, it will get answered. So, without wasting any time, let's dive right into it today. And the first question we've got to get caught up on is from Jordan Benjamin, who writes, I'd love John Boyega to play Union Jack in the MCU. He's like Britain's Captain America in the Marvel Comics. What would be your choice, Giovanni? Iron Finn? Yeah, Iron Finn, like Iron Spider. For those of you who know what he's talking about, the other day we did this story on how John Boyega was at this thing, I believe it was called Awesome Con. And he dropped the fact that he has been meeting with Marvel about joining the MCU. Now, he cautioned everybody to say, look, it would be way down the line. It wouldn't happen anytime soon. So who could he be talking about playing? Well, we know it's not Blade because he said in that same statement that it's not Blade. He only thinks Wesley Snipes should play Blade. Fine. Who could it be? I'm not sure. But what is true is that, we don't have to just think about black characters from the MCU. We've seen that movie studios today are willing to do a little bit of race changing as long as it doesn't affect a core essential element of who that character is, which I'm totally fine with. So it could literally be anybody. Could it be somebody that the MCU currently has a domain over? Could it be one of the Fox, X-Men or Fantastic Four characters? Although Kevin Feige said he's not even thinking about that right now. But it could be just about anybody. Look, bottom line is this. It could be any character and it would be fine. John Boyega has turned into a really fine actor. Whoever he plays would be fine with me. I'd love to see him in the MCU. All right, next question comes to us from Nicholas Priera, who writes, have Dark Phoenix and New Mutants been delayed because Fox is anticipating the sale of its assets? Considering New Mutants production hell, it would be logical. No, it has nothing to do with it. Actually, we saw a report coming out of the tracking board that pretty much puts all that to ease. What it is was Fox couldn't get their shit together. They originally told the director, who wanted to make kind of a real horror movie out of New Mutants, said, no, can't be all horror. That wouldn't work. So then he went ahead and started making the movie one way. Then It came out and it was a huge smash success. And then all of a sudden Fox is like, well, maybe it should be more horror, and they're redoing all that kind of stuff. Look, I'm sure there's a million behind the scenes things, but really it has nothing to do with the impending Disney deal, because we don't even know if that deal's going to happen. And with the way things are going with the Time Warner and AT&T merger getting some real problems from the government and things not going great in the lawsuit, the antitrust lawsuit, there's a very real... Look, I think the Disney and Fox deal will go through, but there is a very legitimate chance it could not. So Fox is got to keep going with business as usual. So no, everything going on with New Mutants and stuff like that. And remember, the Phoenix movie, the X-Men Phoenix movie, it was only pushed 3 months. I mean, that's a very minor move. So, no, none of this has anything to do with the impending Disney deal, if the Disney deal even happens. All right, next one comes to us from Beeper5, who writes, Russo's just said, don't spoil Infinity War. It's going to be insane. Yeah, so we talked about that on the John Campea Show this morning, that the directors of Avengers Infinity War, the Russo brothers, they put out this open letter to the fans saying, hey, those fan screenings you've been hearing about? Those are just going to be showing small clips from the film. It's not going to be showing anything that's going to give away spoilers. And they used that letter to then plead with everybody. Look, if you find out spoilers, please don't spoil this movie for people. As a matter of fact, a little bit later today, I put up a video on my YouTube channel basically pleading with my fellow film pundits and my fellow movie YouTubers, begging them not to put up spoiler reviews before this movie opens. Because even though you can say, well, if somebody doesn't want to know spoiler, they shouldn't watch my video. Yeah, that's true. But you'll get a bunch of people and trolls who want to spoil the movie for everybody, haven't seen the movie, will come and watch your early spoiler review, take all that information, and go and spoil it for everybody. We've seen it happen on the John Campea channel. We've seen it happen all over the place. So, yes, it was a great letter they put out, and it was signed like Thanos demands your silence or something like that. It was a nice little letter. Phil Lee writes, how is Anne after LASIK? Did she get night glare? For those of you who don't know, my wife Anne, after years and years and years of us talking about, we finally sent her in to get LASIK, the eye surgery, the laser eye surgery. And it's amazing. She loves it. For the first time in her life, she can see clearly without contact lenses or glasses. She loves it. Is she getting the night glare? Yes, she is. They warn her about that. It's getting better, and it's almost gone. But yeah, she goes, it is weird. They told me about this night glare thing, and then the first night came and driving, she sees like kind of a glow and a halo around everything. But that is starting to dissipate. So yeah, who knew? I never knew that was one of the common after effects of the LASIK. All right, Raymond Verada writes, I checked. John Legend is an E away from the EGOT. Yeah, I mean, the EGOT is the most difficult thing in the world to get. That is an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. I think they said only 4 people in history have the EGOT, and one guy has done it twice. Like the dude who just won the Oscar for Coco. By winning that second Oscar, he has now done the EGOT twice, which will never happen again. No one else will ever do it again. Only 4 people have ever done it once. But I guess John Legend needs to start turning his attention to television now, get that E and get that EGOT out of the way. Phil Lee writes, Canadian ladies fight, bare naked ladies versus Our Lady Peace. Yeah, I love Our Lady Peace. Love Our Lady Peace. But that battle goes to bare naked ladies every single time. With or without Steven in the band, bare naked ladies every single time. No disrespect to Our Lady Peace, because I love Our Lady Peace, but bare naked ladies all day, man. A.V. Towles writes, the movie 300 was the first movie I saw twice in theaters. What was your first movie that you saw more than once in the theater? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, actually, it was probably Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars was my first childhood memory. And I know my mother took me to see that multiple times. So that's easy for me to answer. The first movie I saw multiple times in theaters was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, which was the earliest childhood memory I have, which is Star Wars. So yeah, so that one's easy for me. 300's a good one. But I remember the first one that I went to go see like 7 times in theaters, and that was Independence Day. I went to see Independence Day like a whole time. Like for me at the time, I don't know why. It was just like the most awesome thing ever. And I went to go see that a bunch of times. And now it's really common for me. If I like a movie, I go see it multiple times in theaters. I like going to the movies, man. It's my favorite thing. Apple was my idea. That's a great name. Apple was my idea writes, Hey John, been watching since AMC. Thank you so much. Do you think Avengers 4 title will be revealed in the post-credits or in an official press release a few days after Infinity War? No, neither. They're not gonna release the name of Avengers 4 until long after Infinity War's in theaters. I mean, by that I mean at least until it's almost near the end of its run or until it's out of movie theaters. It ain't gonna be in the post-credit scene. Because like we were just talking about, the Russos and Disney are trying to be very careful about hiding spoilers. And they're not going to have the first screening put the name of Avengers. Because if they put the name of Avengers 4 in the post-credit scene, then on February 26th, every news outlet is running with the title Avengers 4, which, if the Russos are to be believed, is essentially a spoiler for Avengers 3. They wouldn't do that. So no, I'm not expecting us to get a title for Avengers 4 until probably 2 or 3 months after the movie opens. At least. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us and they'll put it out earlier, but I'm not expecting until at least 2 or 3 months after the movie, after Avengers 3 comes out. A.V. Towns writes, if you're stuck on an island for the rest of your life and can only watch one of these actors' entire body of work, who will it be? Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, Samuel L. Jackson, or Harrison Ford? Oh! Ooh! Well, I guess I gotta go Harrison Ford. Because if we go with Harrison Ford, it gives me all the Indiana Jones and it gives me all the Star Wars, plus a whole lot of great films that Harrison Ford has done in and around those things as well. I mean, Tom Hanks would be very tempting, and Samuel L. Jackson would also be very tempting. I love a lot of Tom Cruise movies, but he wouldn't stack up there with Tom Hanks and Harrison Ford. I'm going to go Harrison Ford on that, just because by default, that gives me all the Indiana Jones and that gives me all the Star Wars, so I'm good. So that'll work for me. I'll go Harrison Ford on that. But Tom Hanks is tempting. Haskell 420 writes, imagine the end of Infinity War says the Avengers may not return. Well, that would be ridiculous since we all know Avengers 4 is coming. So that would kind of be ridiculous for them to do, but it would be funny. I mean, it probably would get a lot of laughs in the theater if they put something like that up. That would be funny. Kevin Bennett writes, John Krasinski is up to play Reed Richards. How cool would it be if he did and Emily Blunt played Sue Storm? Well, again, every actor in Hollywood is up to play Reed Richards. There's maybe 1 out of every 100 actors, 99 out of every 100 actors. If you walk up to them, put a microphone in their face, said, "Hey, would you be into playing Reed Richards in Fantastic Four?" They're all going to say yes. They're all going to say yes. And it's crazy. Some reporter goes up to John Krasinski and says, "Hey, would you be up for being in Fantastic Four?" What's John Krasinski's going to say? No. Of course he's going to say yes. Even if he didn't want to, he's going to say yes. Yeah, I'd be up for it. That'd be great. Sure. Woo. I mean, of course he's going to say that. And it's just been so ridiculous watching like websites running stories based on this and people saying, "Oh, now there's rumors that John Krasinski's going to be in Fantastic Four." No, he's not. I mean, anything's possible. And yeah, would I be down to see Krasinski and Blunt as Reed and Sue Storm, or Reed and Sue Richards? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's a nothing story. It's a nothing story, not worth us even spending any time on. Matt Haley writes, "Do you think Queen Elizabeth watches The Crown?" Yeah, I do. I think she does. I think she keeps up to date on stuff like that, and hopefully she loves the show, because I love the show. It's a great show. Muse Tack Reviews writes, "Thoughts on Jerome in Gotham? Have you also seen the images released of the actual Joker they shall introduce later this season?" No, I haven't heard anything about that. And I watched the last episode of Gotham. I don't know. To me, when Gotham works best, it's when it's a gritty crime drama with this police commissioner, Gordon, fighting for the soul of this city. That's when it works. When it's him and mobsters, and even a little bit of these side, like Selina's been a great character in it. I love the role they've had Oswald play in it, kind of as the underground crime lord. That's really worked for me. The Ed Nigma stuff is hit and miss, to be honest. But when Gotham starts to lose me, ironically, is when it tries to be Batman too much. Especially when they have all these, "Look guys, Bruce is wearing a dark mask. He becomes Batman." Like, especially when they do, and that's like, you're treating the audience like we're all idiots. And I'm like, we get it. This kid becomes Batman 20 years from now, or 15 years from now, whatever. This is Gotham. And to be honest, now that they're putting all the emphasis on like this latest storyline with Scarecrow, Hatter, Joker, all this kind of stuff, this is when the show loses me a bit. When the show is its own show, it's Gotham, it's about Gordon in the early days, long before Batman ever came around. That's when the show works best for me. When they get into it, making it Batman Jr., whether it's because it's Bruce or whether they got all the Batman, look everybody, you know all these Batman villains, it kind of loses me a little bit. So I'll be honest, I'm not totally big on the Jerome character. There are moments that he's pretty cool, but the more and more they try to make him act like the Joker, it feels more silly. I don't know. For me, it's not really working that much, but who knows? I'll hang in there and see how they kind of resolve that. Tinnis Flawed writes, "My son and I really loved Ready Player One. He asked how cool if it was split into 3 films, each film with opening gates. Thoughts? Nah, that wouldn't have worked. Because then each film isn't a complete movie in and of itself. So there's not enough, plus you would have been stretching it out horribly. So, I mean, I get the gist of what your son's suggesting. I do, but I don't think it would have worked. So I'm quite happy, quite satisfied with the way they did it. Jake the Human writes, "Check out the anime film Your Name in my top 5 of 2017. Well, thank you for putting it in my radar. I've never heard of it. Your Name. Oh, no. Wait. I take that back. I totally take that back. Your Name. Hold on. Let me just make sure I'm thinking of the right. Make sure I'm thinking of the right thing here. Yes. Okay. Yes. That animated film. Okay. I've not watched the whole thing. I've seen chunks of it. Not watched the whole thing. It's supposed to be great, but I have not watched it all the way through, so I can't comment on it. So yeah, at first I didn't know which movie you were talking about. Edgar Navarro writes, "I'd like to see Boyega as the Silver Surfer." That'd be interesting. I mean, again, any good actor would be a great Silver Surfer. And I'm certainly sure that Boyega himself would do a really good job at you. So that would be an interesting fit. Jonathan Wilson writes, hello, John. Big fan from the UK. Love the show. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Do you think we could see Captain in his old suit with his shield in Avengers 4? By the way, I'm with you on the iron suit. Yeah. Well, first of all, the old costume, like the original Captain America, the first Avenger costume, maybe, maybe not. I'm not so sure about that. Will we see Cap with his shield again? Of that, I have no doubt. I even strongly suspect we'll see him with that shield in Infinity War. But I have no doubt that at least by the end of Avengers 4, we will see Cap with that shield and probably yelling out, Avengers Assemble. So that I have very little doubt. The question to me is not, will it happen by the end of Avengers 4? The question for me is, will it happen by the end of Avengers 3? And I actually have a strong suspicion we'll see it in Avengers 3. But one way or the other, we're getting that shot. I don't know about the old costume, but we are going to get that shot with him with the shield. That I'm very confident in. Jokic13 writes, if Aquaman succeeds, where should DC go from there? I mean, look, you can say, what if anything succeeds? Look, and then what do you mean by succeed? What if it breaks even? Look, DC has to already have their game plan in place before Aquaman gets here. Because Aquaman isn't coming out for like another 9 months. DC and Warner Brothers have to have their plan in place already. They know how well Aquaman's going to do. Aquaman's not going to be a huge hit. It can break even. It might even be profitable. It could lose a bunch of money too. But let's face it. Nobody, very, very, very few people other than myself came out of Justice League going, Aquaman was awesome. I was one of the only people doing that. I love Jason Momoa as Aquaman. You got a great director, but let's be realistic here. The odds of Aquaman being a big hit are slim. It's a slim chance. So let's be real. Even when we're theorizing, let's be a little bit realistic. But it is possible that Aquaman could break even and make money. That's possible, but big hit, I think that's off the table. The bottom line though is, Warner Brothers can't just sit around and wait to be reactionary. They can't sit with their thumbs up their butts and just going, let's just wait another 9 months before we make a decision about what we're doing. They got to know what they're going to be doing after all this. They have to have that plan already in place. So quite honestly, even if Aquaman is a hit or if Aquaman is a total bomb, I don't think it's going to change their plan, whatever. I think they're going to have their plan in place before Aquaman ever gets there. And that's what it's going to be. So I really don't think Aquaman is going to change anything at this point, good or bad. Like, I don't think it's going to change it for the bad. I don't think it's going to change it for the good. I think they're already going to have their plan in place and they're going to do their thing. But anybody says, yeah, but what if Aquaman's a big smash hit? Well, okay. What if Peter Pan comes to life and brings me a bowl of soup? I mean, sure, we can theorize, but let's also be a little bit realistic. Aquaman's not going to be a giant hit. And it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. Then again, a lot of people said that about Black Panther too, and look how that turned out. Zach Clayton Douglas writes, I think it's likely we won't hear about Avengers 4 title till the post-credits of Infinity War. Avengers 4, Thanos Strikes Back. Yeah, as somebody else already asked that, no, we're not going to see it in the post-credits. I strongly believe we will not see the Avengers 4 title in the post-credits because, again, if, as the Russos are suggesting, if the title of Avengers 4 is a spoiler for things that happen in Avengers 3, then before 95% of the people who see Avengers 3, every news site's going to be running with the headline title of Avengers 4 title. And so therefore they're spoiling it for everybody. So no, I don't believe we're going to hear the spoiler. I don't believe we're going to hear the title for Avengers 4 until months after Infinity War hits theaters. Unless we're kind of be given a little bit of misdirection and the title for Avengers 4 is not a spoiler for Avengers 3. In that case, it may come out earlier, yes. But if it is what we all suspect and what they seem to be suggesting, that the title for Avengers 4 is a spoiler for Avengers 3, then they're going to hold off on that title announcement for months. We still got a long way to go before we get it. Ali Hussein writes, wow, it's crazy that Supernatural is getting a season 14. No kidding, man. P.S. Love the Scooby Natural episode. The Scooby Natural episode was fantastic. The best thing about it is you don't ever have to have ever seen a single episode of Supernatural to be able to watch, get, and appreciate the Scooby Natural episode. You can just come in and just watch it. Even if you don't know the single thing about Supernatural, you can watch Scooby Natural and you'll be just fine. And yeah, season 14. Season 14, unbelievable. For me, as far as I'm concerned, they can keep this show going for another 7 or 8 years. Tinus Vlado writes, let's see, Giovanni B. John Campia, you're pretty cool. Thank you so much. Love the John Campia Show podcast for when I miss the live show. For anyone who's on the fence, sign up for John's Patreon. Well, thank you so much, Tinus Vlado. Yeah, so I, of course, do have a Patreon campaign. You know what? Let me do a little shameless plug right here for a second. If you're somebody who enjoys my programming and you listen to him mention the podcast, do me a favor. Head on over to patreon.com/John Campia. Just get the information. Get the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter actually keeps these shows on the air, and also what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. Benefits like audio-only versions of the podcast, only for our Patreon supporters. We got some behind-the-scenes videos now and again. We've got an exclusive Facebook group where the fans there are great on the Facebook group. Just check it out, and maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. If not, that's totally fine, but if you do, that would be great. So thank you for that plug, Tinus Vlado. I really appreciate that. All right, let's keep going here. Lori Scott writes, in the kissing game, you have kissed everyone who's ever kissed your partner. By logic, Supernatural has crossed over with everyone that Scooby-Doo has ever crossed over with. That means Batman and the 6 Degrees of Separation. Yeah, a lot of people forget there was the Batman and Robin have crossed over with Scooby-Doo before. You should go check it out. It's great. It's one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. Thank you for bringing that one up, Lori. Yes, it is one of the best ones ever. Go look it up. I'm sure you can find it online. It's primo. It's fantastic. All right, let's keep moving here. Next one. Iggy is Horrible writes, why don't you poll us in Cali, see how many of us would come out for a meet and greet, and then everyone needs to wear a name tag with their screen name. Well, I'm thinking about it. Look, I'm thinking also about... I haven't 100% decided to go to Comic-Con yet this year. Haven't 100% decided. If I do, I'm thinking about doing a meet and greet there. Are any of you guys going to go to Comic-Con or going to be in San Diego? And if you live close to San Diego, would you come into town if we did a meet and greet one night? Let me know. Just let me know, because I'm still trying to figure that out. Personally, I don't think I'm big enough to do that, but let me know if you guys would like to do it and maybe we can arrange it. Let's see. Blues Gutierrez writes, best of the best. Tommy and Dahan are both brothers. Really? You know what's funny? I've always known they both have the same last name. Like the guy who plays Tommy and Dahan, they both have the last name Ree. Are they actually in real life brothers? I'm going to just take you at your word that you've looked that up and you know that for sure. Like I've always known they had the same last name, but I didn't realize they were actually real brothers. Learn something new every day. Damn, I love that movie. Best of the Best is so good. Thanks for the info, Blues. I appreciate that. That's really cool. Let's see. Where do we go? Okay. Alan Gonzalez writes, could we see a Ready Player 2? I would love it, but the reality is it doesn't look like it's doing well enough financially. So the reality is I don't think we're going to get a Ready Player 2. It's unfortunate. It's sad. This movie deserved to do so much better at the box office, but unless it shows some real legs, I don't think we're going to see a Ready Player 2. Although I would love it. Aram writes, Khabib versus Max Holloway. Who wins? Fascinating fights. Too bad Tony Ferguson had to back out again. But the Max Holloway fight versus Khabib could be an even better fight. Could be an even better fight. Max Holloway. I remember when he was fighting Jose Aldo, and I was the only guy I know that's saying, he's going to kick Aldo's ass. He's going to beat Aldo. You watch. I mean, Aldo could win because he's Aldo, but Max Holloway, I think he's going to win that fight. And people called me crazy. What happened? He went out and he bitch slapped Jose Aldo. Fairly handily, too. Him and Khabib, I think, is an even more interesting fight than Ferguson. I actually thought Khabib was going to steamroll over Ferguson. It was going to be a good fight, but I thought Khabib was going to steamroll. I don't think he's going to steamroll over Max Holloway, but I will still take Khabib in this. Khabib is the living manifestation of your deepest, darkest nightmare. He is a scary, scary man. So I cannot wait for this fight on Saturday night, man. Khabib, Holloway. It's funny because when it was actually April 1st that the news came out that Ferguson was out and Max Holloway, who's the featherweight champion, coming up a weight class to fight for the lightweight championship. So we didn't know if it was real. I mean, remember Dennis, you guys know my buddy Dennis. Dennis text messaged me, he goes, wait a minute, is this April Fool's? And we're going, it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to find out if this is real or not. But it's real and it's happening. It's going to be a great fight. I cannot wait. I still take Khabib, though. I still take Khabib in that fight. Okay, let's see. The Number Thor writes, thoughts on Star Trek Voyager? Not my favorite. You know what? The first season or two, I kind of dug it. And then I just didn't. Then I just didn't. Yeah. Not bad, but I can barely even remember any of the episodes after the first season or two, to be honest with you. It is probably the last one I think about when I think about all the subsequent Star Trek series after the original. It's the one I probably think about the least, to be honest with you. It's too bad because it had, like, Chakotay was a really good character. I think an underutilized, underappreciated character. I mean, they just had some really good characters, but it just didn't click for me like some of the other ones did. Ben Lorenowitz writes, have you watched and or enjoyed Canadian comedy shows Corner Gas? Never really seen Corner Gas or the Red Green Show. I was watching Red Green. Not a lot of people remember this. I was just a little kid when they did this, but this play-by game, I think his name is Tom Smith. I think this is the name of the actor who does Tom Green, or who does the Red Green Show. I mean, Tom Smith, I believe is his name. Now, the Red Green character got his start on a little Canadian variety show called Smith and Smith. And it was Tom Smith, who plays Red Green, and his wife. And Red Green was a character birthed on that show. And even though Smith and Smith went off the air, this character maintained and went on. And if you don't know Red Green, look up Red Green. Red Green is hilarious. So I'll go Red Green on that. I've heard great things about Corner Gas, but I've never had a chance to watch it. Daniel J. writes, with the success of Black Panther, could DC do a movie based on Blue Beetle, who was of Mexican descent? That would be good for a minority character. Here's the thing, though. Look, Black Panther didn't succeed because it was a black character, any more than Iron Man succeeded because it was a white character. Black Panther's a great movie. It's a great movie. That's why it succeeded. Did the novelty of and the social significance of, a black-led superhero film in this new era of comic book movies, like the first black-led superhero film in this new era of comic book movies that we've had, was that significant? Yes, it was significant. Did it contribute to it? Yes, it contributed to it. Absolutely. But if it wasn't a good movie, it wouldn't have mattered squat. Because if that's the case, then Wrinkle in Time with a lead black female character would have been the biggest box office thing, and it didn't. It flopped at the box office. Black Panther was successful because Black Panther's a great movie, regardless of whether you got a minority lead, a white lead, whatever. Was there contributing factors? Yes. But at the end of the day, if the movie's not great, it would have flopped, much like Wrinkle in Time flopped. So, so you can't say, hey, with the success of Black Panther, could John design a new line of sneakers and be successful? One has nothing to do with the other. So there's no comparison here with the Black Panther and a potential Blue Beetle movie led by a character of Mexican descent. There's no connection there whatsoever. You can't really compare those two. Now, take the Black Panther part out of it. Could a Blue Beetle movie, which seems ridiculous to me, to be honest, but could a Blue Beetle movie with a character of Mexican descent as Blue Beetle succeed? It's like anything, man. It's like Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. Any concept can work if you make a great movie around it. So that concept could work, sure it could. But you can't make any comparison to that and Black Panther. One has nothing to do with the other, and the people at Warner Brothers know that. Laurie Scott writes, enjoyed your review of Ready Player One, thank you. But I'd like to see the opinion of one who read the book. Any chance of talking Ann into doing a guest review? Nah, probably not. I'm not really... here's the thing with me. I have very little interest in hearing comparisons. Movies that are based on books, I don't care about their comparisons to the books. This is the movie. This is not the book. That's why I really don't care what people who read Harry Potter think about the movie. I just care what people think about the movie. I don't care what you think about the book. I don't care what you think about how it compares to the book or anything like that. I don't care. I just care about the movie. I went to see the movie. I want to evaluate it on the nature of the movie. However, there are a hell of a lot of people who have read the book Ready Player One. And it's totally natural that people would, be interested to hear about the comparisons between the two. I get that. To me, it's a foreign concept because I don't care. There are people who would. But no, Anne doesn't have time to do a review for the channel, so that probably won't happen. Not to mention the movie's now weeks old, so there's no point in me putting up a review on the channel for a movie that's weeks old. It's not going to get any views. But yeah, that's just kind of my approach on it. All right, next one comes to us from Gabe Schembarger, who writes, thoughts on Field of Dreams. Well, I like Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams is a great film. I enjoy it a great deal. If you build it, they will come, and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the better Kevin Costner movies. It's probably one of the better Kevin Costner stories that he's done. James Earl Jones. I think it's a great movie. Let's see. The number Thor writes, where am I here? The number Thor writes, we kind of know Hulk fights Thanos on Thor's ship in Infinity War and gets schooled, but I hope they have a rematch, maybe in Wakanda, and Hulk's we hear the old classic Hulk smash and Hulk whips Thanos. I don't think we're going to see the Hulk whipping Thanos. Because if he could whip Thanos, if any one Marvel character could just whip Thanos, then Thanos isn't the threat that he's supposed to be. He has to be a threat level that it's going to take everybody to stand against him. Given that, I don't think we're going to see Hulk being able to whip anybody. In terms of Thanos. Now, maybe he whips a bunch of the Black Order. That's fine. But I don't think we see him whipping Thanos. Although, to hear him just scream, Hulk smash! That would be great. Like when he's about to fight some other dudes. That would be awesome. I would lose my mind. I would totally lose my mind. And by the way, we don't know that he fights Thanos on that ship. I'm assuming, I'm putting two and two together, and it seems that makes sense, but we don't know that happens. We don't know. It could be something completely different. We'll just have to wait until we see the movie. Clearly, I think that's what happens, but we're going to have to wait and see. All right, next up comes to us from Moose Tack Reviews, who writes, you enjoying the most recent episodes of Legends? I'm hit and miss. You know what? I've never loved Legends of Tomorrow's. But I've also never hated it. There have been some individual episodes I've hated, but I can't think of a single episode of Legends of Tomorrow that I've really loved. I've never been in love with the show, but I've never hated the show either. It's always been just good enough and has some interesting things that it keeps me on board. I do not like what they've done with the Brandon Routh Ant-Man, Adam character. I don't like what they've done with him. They've really neutered the character. And he's gone way too nerdy. Like, he's like a totally... They've turned Palmer, which is the Brandon Routh character. Because when he was first introduced on Arrow, he was a smart, confident, little geeky dude. But they've turned him into this socially inept, just 100% like little school nerd dude. And that's not what he was. And they just seem to progressively be making him more and more this way. That the fact that he's just kind of useless. He is a dude to be feared. He is not somebody to trifle with. And they've kind of neutered him more and more as the show's gone on. So, hey, look, I'm into it. They do some interesting things. The whole thing they've got going on with the totems right now is kind of interesting. The fact that they're bringing Constantine into the fold is a good move. So there are good things about it. But it's just never been enough to get me really on board. You know what I'm saying? Walden writes, but John, those are both First Contact. Oh, what you're talking about? Somebody was asking me about my favorite next movie with the Next Generation cast. And I said something, which happens all the time. I said something dumb. I said something like, I said, a lot of people's favorites is when they meet the guy on Earth about the initial warp drive. That's not my favorite. I know that's most people. My favorite is the one with the Borg Queen. They are one in the same film. They're one in the same film. That just tells you how crossed my wires get as I'm sitting here trying to do this show live at the same time. So yeah, good observation, Walden. That is true. Chris Parker writes the exact same thing. Chris Parker writes, Trek movie with Borg Queen. And Time Travel to Warp Discovery is the same movie, First Contact, Picard on point. The line must be drawn here. Absolutely. Adam Griffin writes, I wasn't asking for your thoughts, John. I was saying thoughts, as in thoughts and prayers. You misinterpreted my comment. I wasn't going at that angle. I can't remember what it is we were talking about, Adam. Sorry about that. The number Thor writes, Avengers 4 title, Avengers Rise of the Iron Spider. Oh, you guys will not let me go on that. The number Thor writes, best shark movie that's not Jaws. I love The Reef with Blake Lively. That movie was really good. What was that most recent one? Like 27 meters down, 57 meters down. That was also pretty good. Deep Blue Sea is absolutely ridiculous, but it's pretty fun. I mean, for a shark movie, that's pretty fun. Open Water is another, oh God. Like, Open Water, I think, is an underappreciated film. And Open Water is like, oh my God, like, what would we do? I'm looking at some other ones. Shark Night was terrible. Mega Shark, Octopus, stuff like that. I'm gonna go Deep Blue Sea. It's terrible, but it's like ridiculously fun all at the same time. The Samuel Jackson scene is forever going to be legendary. Ben Rayner writes, title of Avengers 4 at San Diego Comic-Con. That's very possible. If you look at the timing, the movie basically opens in May, June, July. By the time San Diego Comic-Con comes around, Avengers Infinity War is going to be wrapping up its theatrical run. Avengers 4 title at San Diego Comic-Con makes perfect sense. That makes absolutely perfect sense. I would not be surprised at all if that's what we get. So I think you're right. My guess would also be that it pops up at San Diego Comic-Con. All right, Dan Ho writes, Into the Badlands Season 3 looks awesome. I've been having, like, lots of you guys have been telling me on the shows live, watch Into the Badlands. I've never watched an episode, but now I know that Stephen Lang is in it, apparently. I'm even more interested now. I'm going to try to catch up on Into the Badlands. I will try to binge watch that. I've got that, and the other one everybody's telling me to watch is A Series of Unfortunate Events with Neil Patrick Harris. Everybody's telling me that's awesome, too. So I've got a number of things I got to get caught up on here. Jason Soto writes, you are the shit, John. Love your show, man. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate that. Thank you. Tin214 writes, Nolan's best 3 consecutive films. Oh, I don't know. For that, I'd have to know all of them in sequential order. Let me see if I can get them here. Okay. Christopher Nolan's best 3 sequential films. You'd think that they would include The Dark Knight in there. Ooh. You know what? I will go... I'm tempted to say Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins. I'm tempted to say that. But I will go with The Prestige, The Dark Knight, and Inception. Those are probably his 3 best sequential films. Prestige, which was 2006, Dark Knight, which was 2008, Inception, which was 2010. Followed closely by Memento in 2000, Insomnia in 2002, Batman Begins in 2005. So I will go Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception. That's what I'll say is his best 3 consecutive. Ian Nguyen Du writes, what about Red Skull holding the Tesseract? Yeah, we were talking about how like these characters in the MCU can't hold Infinity Stones. Remember, the Tesseract is itself a container for the Infinity Stone that's inside. Much like in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Infinity Stone was in an orb. They could hold the orb, but they couldn't hold the stone itself. I think the Tesseract itself is probably still pretty powerful, but it itself is a container for the stone inside. And I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think in the Avengers trailer, when Thanos crushes the thing in his hand, I think he's crushing the Tesseract to bring out the Infinity Stone. Then he drops it into the gauntlet. That's what I think happens. We're going to have to wait and see. Aram writes, again, who wins Khabib? Max Holloway. I'm taking Khabib on that, as I've already mentioned. Michael Reyes writes, hey, John, really loving the show lately. Thank you so much, Michael. I recently saw Ocean's 11 and loved it. Are there any other heist movies that you would recommend? Heist movies that I would recommend. Yes, hold on a second. Let me bring up my list here. One of my favorite heist movies, well, first of all, The Town is a heist movie. I love The Town. That movie's just amazing, so I got to say that one. Other great heist movies, I mean, Ant-Man's a good heist movie as well. Ocean's 11, you've already mentioned. Bank Job's pretty good. One of my all-time favorite movies, period, is Snatch, which is great with Benicio del Toro, Jason Statham, Brad Pitt. That's awesome. The Italian Job's a great heist movie. A Fish Called Wanda. Yeah, A Fish Called Wanda is one of my all-time favorite comedies. That is a heist movie as well. Usual Suspects is a heist movie, is great. Heat is great. I am a sucker for heist films. I'm a real sucker for heist films. So those are just some of the ones that come off that I can think of. All right, next one. Zach Heartless writes, do you think that sometime in the future will we get DC's Trinity movie? If by Trinity you mean Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, we already did. It was called Batman versus Superman. And we already did. It was called Justice League. So if you mean, will we get one that is just the three of them? I don't know. Anything's possible for sure, but we've already had them together in other movies, so I'm not quite sure there's much more to go beyond that. The Halo Brony writes, did you see the pink Deadpool F Cancer promo? Yes. And I loved it. It was great. I love that they're using that. They're using the status of the movie to promote that kind of stuff. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. But if you haven't seen it, just look it up. Just look up Deadpool F Cancer. You'll find all the stuff there. It's really good. Florian Stumpf writes, hey, Giovanni, thanks for getting me into Lucifer. Love it when people tell me they start watching a show I recommend. I love Lucifer. If you're not watching Lucifer, start watching it. It's been getting really good too, because now it's got Tom Welling, who played Clark in Smallville. He's now in the show. He plays a little bit of a mysterious character. They've revealed who he is in the show, but I won't tell you who it is yet, just in case you're just getting into it. I'm loving this show, man. Tom Ellis as Lucifer right now is my favorite character on television. Lucifer isn't necessarily my favorite show on television right now, but Tom Ellis as Lucifer, my favorite character in television. So I'm really into it. So thanks for sharing that, Florian. JB1411 writes, why do movies like Hocus Pocus that were box office bombs find success years later and become a classic cult film? No idea. I mean, look, that's just the nature of film. That at first, it doesn't strike people, but then later on, other people discover it and they start to like it and it starts to get this small but strong following. I mean, it happens. Why does it happen? I don't know if there's any one given explanation for something like that, but they just do. And we can all think of a couple, but it doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Scott Dickens writes, recast Leia. What if Jolie Fisher, honoring sister? But is Jolie Fisher like a good enough actress? Is Jolie Fisher, can she come in and carry a movie? Especially considering like how big of a movie this would be and how big the role of Leia was apparently going to be in the movie. Now, I still really like the idea of Meryl Streep for a couple of reasons. One, she is the greatest actress of all time. Two, Carrie Fisher once picked Meryl Streep to play her in her semi-autobiographical movie, Postcards from the Edge. How perfect is that? Carrie Fisher once picked Meryl Streep to play her. And number three, because Carrie Fisher and Meryl Streep had a lifelong relationship together. So those three reasons should be good enough for anybody that Meryl Streep is really the one who should play. I mean, another actress could, for sure. Another actress could. But, I mean, I just think Streep is kind of the perfect choice for all those three reasons. Preston Walden writes, the summer officially starts in May for movies. Does that hinder Infinity War from being considered a summer movie since it's now in April? Just wondering. There's no rule. Nobody has the authority to proclaim, I proclaim May 1st as the beginning of the summer movie season. Remember, there was a time that a lot of people didn't consider the movie season starting until June 1st. And then it was only in the past like 7 or 8 years that we started considering May to be part of the summer movie season. It's semantics. It's a matter of a couple of days. There will be some jerks who do it, but generally speaking, most people are not going to, throw you against the wall for saying that Infinity War is a summer movie. It opened on April 27th. Well, whatever. It's a few days off. I mean, there's no real hard and fast rule about what is a summer movie. If you want to consider it a summer movie, fine. I don't know that I would consider it a summer movie, but who cares if I do or not? You can consider it to be whatever you want. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule about it. Uchiha Obido writes, do you watch How It Should Have Ended videos? Not a ton lately, but I really enjoy them. I think the How It Should Have Ended videos are a lot of fun. If you haven't, one of my favorite ones is How The Lord of the Rings Should Have Ended, which was great. That was a great one. But I don't watch them nearly as much as I should. It's kind of like Strong Bad. I fell behind on Homestar Runner and Strong Bad stuff years ago, and it's like, oh, why did I not watch all of them? I don't know. I don't keep up with them, but they are great. You should look them up. Look up the How It Should Have Ended videos because they're really often quite funny. He also writes, how long were you and Anne married? Anne and I are still very much married. Anne and I are getting ready to celebrate our 8th anniversary. In June, we're going to be celebrating our 8th anniversary. I think for our anniversary, we're going to celebrate by going to Calgary. So any of you guys live in Calgary, Alberta, I think Anne and I are going to come up to Calgary for to celebrate our anniversary. Why Calgary? Because I think we want to spend a night or two in Calgary. I've got some friends there that I'd love to see, but also because she wants to see Banff. Like, she's never been to Banff. I want to take her to Banff, and we're going to probably Banff, Alberta is probably the single most beautiful place on the planet Earth. If you've never heard of Banff, Alberta, look it up. Banff and Lake St. Louis, look them up. You'll die to go there. I mean, it pretty much probably is the single most beautiful place in the world. So you should check that out. Shannon Terry writes, would Rock let his body go for a movie or role? I don't think so. I don't think he should either, because especially at Rock's age, if he lets that go, it's going to be almost impossible. It's going to be not almost impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get it back. And that's his bread and butter. That's his bread and butter. So no, I don't think he would, nor do I think he should. Ramon Cruz writes, Avengers 4 title, Secret War. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because just saying that doesn't give any spoilers away about Avengers 3. And from what we understand, the title of Avengers 4 could be a potential spoiler for Avengers 3. And just saying Secret War, 99.9999% of the audience would have no idea what that means. So I doubt it. It's an interesting theory, but I just don't see that happening. Last couple of questions here. Mike Lynch writes, I said I'm biased because my uncle directed Lucky, John Carroll Lynch. I'm trying to remember what that was based on. I can't remember what the original comment was, but okay, your uncle is John Carroll Lynch. Cool. Lloyd Bridgman writes, you said we need to support films we like, but always to vote with your wallet. I don't like the DCEU. Nothing will change if I watch just to help other films. Well, no, you're not wrong about that. Look, if you just simply don't like the DCEU, and if you've watched all the DCEU films and they haven't worked for you, and if a new DCEU film is coming out and it doesn't look good for you, then no, you shouldn't go out and support it. Same goes for the MCU. If a movie's coming out that, if you don't like the MCU and you look at a trailer for an MCU film and it doesn't look like it works for you, and you've talked to other people who didn't like it, then no, you're not obligated to go see it. Then you just shouldn't go see it. Don't worry about that, man. Don't feel bad about that. NPE94 writes, ever seen Barry Lyndon? My favorite Kubrick film. Yeah, it's been like for frickin' ever though. Oh, God. I'm trying to remember who was in the film too. I cannot remember now for the life of me who was in that film. But yeah, I remember I saw Barry Lyndon, but honestly, it was forever ago. I remember very little about it. And the last question today comes to us from Ben Hayusa, who writes, WN is WrestleMania, John. Oh, that's right, Ben. You wrote earlier, I'm going to do WN this year, and I had no idea what you were talking about. Guys, please don't use abbreviations if you can help it. WM is WrestleMania, John. And I was just kidding about my first question. I already know about it not being any news. I just wanted to hear you rant. Sorry, my man. Okay, so WrestleMania is coming up. And I used to watch wrestling, like WWF, all the time as a kid, like all the time. The last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I'll still watch like 2 or 3 times a year. I'll watch 2 or 3 of the big pay-per-view events. Certainly WrestleMania is one of them. It's funny because we just watched, what's the name of the one where like 30 competitors come to the ring 1 minute a piece at a time? I can't remember the name of the event, but I watched it. I remember watching going, I do not know who 70% of these people are. I have no idea who 70% of the people are. So I'm getting really disconnected with the WWE. But I will also be watching WrestleMania. Actually, Ann and I went to WrestleMania a couple of years ago. But I will be watching WrestleMania this year with some friends, I'm sure. And that's pretty cool that you get to go. Okay, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion video. We are now all caught up on all the live questions you guys sent in. Don't forget, guys, join us every morning for the John Campea Show. We go all the big movie news stuff. And then, of course, in the afternoons for open mic, just talking about whatever we as friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about movies and TV want to talk about. Make sure you join me for all those shows, guys, as well. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the companion video. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.